1st, 2022. We have a hard stop at 6:30 p.m. tonight to allow for Brookline Interactive Group to transition to covering town meeting. So let's get started. First on our agenda is announcements and updates. Any announcements or updates from my fellow select board members? Miriam?
I would just say, sorry, that actually Mike just texted me, Mike Salmon. He said he's trying to get on, but it's not letting him. So Devin, I don't know if you want to resend him the link. My only announcement really truly is that there's 17 days left in the school year.
Sure, you're not the only one counting down.
Quickly, we had a really great ARPA review committee meeting last Friday at 2:00. It was recorded, should be available to the public. And we're getting a lot of questions that we answered in that meeting. And what I think I'll do is maybe we'll put a little FAQ together and put it up on the website so people can access it. And the most common question is, what's next? When's the second round? And I can tell you, we don't have dates for the second round, but it won't be at least the very earliest the fall. We're still, figuring out the process for the first round. And then we actually really want to see how that goes. And we got some great feedback for things that we need to adjust for round 2. And we need to make some of those changes, and all of that still coming. So,
right.
That's it.
John?
Thank you. Thank you very much, Heather. So I did a lot of advance promoting, if you will, of Memorial Day at our recent meetings. And yesterday was the big day. And all I can say is, I think, Bill McGroarty and others just outdid themselves. It was from start to finish, from the observances at the Walnut Hill Cemetery, the Civil War. They have a section of that cemetery where they honor Civil War veterans, then to Walnut Street where they honor Revolutionary War veterans, and then to the World Wars monument outside Town Hall, where those veterans are honored. Our own town administrator, I won't embarrass him, but he gave just a very terrific and appropriate address. And it really captured, I think, the somber side of what is viewed in many places as just, it's just a holiday. It's the beginning of summer. It's time for grilling and so on. And it really requires us to stop and reflect. And Mel achieved that for those who were there for his brief speech. State Representative Vitolo also spoke. Jerry Wolasenko, a veteran, spoke. Others spoke. As I say, all in all, a very, very fitting observance of Memorial Day that required the cooperation and effort of a lot of people. So good for Brookline for doing it right, and for doing right by those who sacrificed their lives in service to their country on Memorial Day.
Great, thank you very much, John. Mike, did you have any updates or announcements? Okay.
No.
Then let's move into public comment. In case there is any, I'll hand it over to John Van Scoyac. You'll have to unmute yourself, John.
Too quick to mute myself, sorry. So back to where I was. Thank you for joining us for public comment. This is an opportunity for us to hear your perspective on the issues in Brookline that matter to you. We do have a few rules. I'll share them. Each person speaking tonight is limited to 3 minutes. You don't need to use the entire time, but you may if you like. Please refrain from personal attacks and from addressing personnel issues during your comments. Members of the public sometimes raise questions during public comment. We may be able to provide a quick answer to a question, but are more likely to work with staff to get a more thorough answer and respond over email. We'll let you know when you have 30 seconds remaining and when your time is up. Please conclude your remarks at that time. If you have more to say, you are welcome to send an email to board members expressing your thoughts in greater detail. And so Devin, who is first on our list?
No one has signed up in advance for public comment. At this time, there are 11 attendees, and no one is using the hand raise or Q&A feature to indicate that they'd like to make a comment.
I have an unbroken streak of introducing public comment, and then there's no one there. So, but back to you, Heather.
Thank you. Don't get too comfortable. It's just because everybody is focused on town meeting.
I know.
Well, we have some warrant articles to go over, so maybe there will be some people that want to be heard on those later in the meeting. If you do, be sure to reach out to Devin to let her know that you want to be heard. But they are not public hearings. I just want to be clear with that. So it will be at the chair's discretion whether or not I want to interrupt our deliberations to take any public comment. So with that being said, let me address the miscellaneous. So here it goes. I will move approval of the meeting minutes from May 24th and May 25th. Boy, I don't feel comfortable doing this without Bernard, but any objections or moves to postpone until we have Bernard?
Nobody reads those notes like he does.
That's true. Okay. He can always move for reconsideration if he feels very strongly. So all those in favor of approving the meeting minutes from the 24th and the 25th, say aye. John?
Aye.
Miriam?
Aye.
Mike?
Aye.
And the chair votes aye. Now, the rest of the miscellaneous, I will move approval of approving the authorization to hire request for the following positions in the Department of Public Works, Parks and Open Space Division, Park Maintenance Craftsperson, 2 gardener laborers. Then I will move accepting a grant in the amount of $20,000 from the Brookline Community Foundation's Racial Equity Fund for the community building project being run by the Department of Diversity, Inclusion, and Community Relations. I move approving and authorizing the chair or her designee to execute a contract extension between the town of Brookline and the Brookline Housing Authority for the installation of bathroom fans at the BHA's High Street Veterans Development in the amount of $312,063. I will move approving the request to reprogram fiscal year 2022 home funds to increase federal funding available to Hebrew Senior Life's 108 Center Street project. Transfer $211,900 from the activity Brookline Housing Authority's Strategic Preservation Initiative, and transfer $211,900 to Hebrew Senior Life's 108 Center Street Senior Housing Development Project. I'll move awarding and executing sewer system rehabilitation with Green Mountain Pipeline Services, LLC at 768 South Main Street, Bethel, Vermont, in the amount of $1,116,667. I move approving the transfer of funds being held by the town of Brookline to the Brookline Community Foundation for the Friends of Brookline Public Health in the amount of $2,381. I move approving the appropriation transfer request within the Human Resources Department budget in the total amount of $17,507. That's $7,500 from education conferences to legal services, $7,307 from software to legal services and pre-placement medical, $2,700 from supplies to legal services. I move approval of the appropriation transfer request within the police department budget in the total amount of $78,000. That's $14,000 from patrol permanent full-time to police admin uniforms, $28,000 from patrol permanent full-time to police admin computer software, $20,000 from patrol permanent full-time to police admin professional technical services, $6,000 from patrol permanent full-time to police admin water, $10,000 from patrol permanent full-time to police admin travel, I move approving a temporary wine and malt beverage non-sales license for the annual Coolidge Corner Arts Festival to be held on Saturday, June 4th from 11 a.m. to 6 p.m. I move approving a temporary wine and malt beverages non-sales license to the Lars Anderson Auto Museum for a hospital meeting and lawn party to be held on June 3rd, 2022 from 1 p.m. to 7 p.m. at 15 Newton Street. 150 people are expected to attend. I move approving a temporary all alcohol beverages non-sales license to the Lars Anderson Auto Museum to be held on June 4th for a bar mitzvah, 6 p.m. to 11 p.m. at 15 Newton Street. 100 people are expected to attend. And finally, I move approving a temporary wine and malt beverage non-sales license to the Lars Anderson Auto Museum to be held on June 2nd, 2022 for an exhibit opening reception from 5 p.m. to 10 p.m. at 15 Newton Street. 150 people are expected to attend. Any questions before I call the roll? Seeing none. John,
Aye.
Miriam,
Aye.
Mike,
Sorry. Aye.
and the chair votes aye. Thank you very much. And I believe that segues us into a reserve fund transfer request. Do we have Erin Galantine? Yes, we do.
Good evening, Erin Chute, Galantine, Commissioner of Public Works. And yes, tonight I am before you with the annual internal appropriation transfer and reserve fund transfer request to balance and close out DPW snow and ice control for FY22. So we have completed a review of our snow and ice control expenditures for the 21-22 winter season. The department responded to 53.2 inches of total snowfall over 23 events between December 8th and March 12th. Of particular note was the blizzard on January 29th, 2022 that brought just under 2 feet of snow. And then the following weekend, February 4th, we had a sleet and freezing rain event that lasted just under 48 hours. So both of those back-to-back significant responses for the department. The town administrator authorized the expenditure for snow and ice control in excess of the 2022 available appropriation pursuant to the provisions of Chapter 44, Section 31D on January 24th, 2022. The completed review has indicated that the total deficit for employee overtime, equipment maintenance, rental services, snow and ice supplies, and motor vehicle supplies is $1,576,270. A further review of all department accounts within DPW, this excludes the water and sewer enterprise, also indicates that there's a surplus of $290,000 within wages and salaries. Application of these funds by internal transfer to the snow and ice overtime account, as detailed on the paperwork submitted to you, will leave a deficit balance of $1,286,270. I would like to commend the DPW employees for a job well done this season through COVID, and also give a notable mention to our Deputy Commissioner of Operations and Director of Highway and Sanitation, Kevin Johnson, who not only leads the effort through the season, but is always thinking about better ways and technologies to treat snow and ice, from certification classes for employees, weather intelligence, software, different types of plow blades, and brine mixing formulas. He's committed to providing the best service and operations to this town possible. So the department respectfully requests your consideration and approval of the request for appropriation transfer that you have in the amount of $290,000 and the reserve fund transfer in the amount of $1,286,270 for transmittal to the advisory committee for further approval as required. Thank you.
Great, thank you. Any questions for Erin? Miriam?
I just admire your optimism that we're not going to get any more snow.
This is pretty standard and routine, and we're trying to tie up the budget at town meeting, hopefully tonight. So
Yes.
this is very timely. If there are no other questions, I can move the language to be voted. I will move that language then. I will move approving a request for appropriation transfer from surplus personnel accounts into the snow and ice budget and a reserve fund transfer to cover the remaining balance for transmittal to the advisory committee for further approval as required. All those in favor, John,
Aye.
Miriam,
Aye.
Mike,
Aye.
and the chair votes aye. Thank you so much, Erin.
Thank you.
Next, we have an update from IT on our website refresh. Good evening.
Hi, folks. How are you?
Thank you so much for coming.
No problem. And I think we've got Fung and Ben as well.
Yes, we do.
Well, good evening, Chair Hamilton, members of the board, Mr. Knechtner, Feng Yang, Chief Information Officer, IT Department. I'm very happy this afternoon to be here with my staff, Ben Vivante and James Poliot, to update you on the town's website redesign. As you know, Ben was our web developer for a long time, and he's recently been promoted to IT Operations Director. And James came from NBC. It took us 6 months to find him. We found him. He started in January, and he's already hit the ground running. He's done a tremendous job, and he's working really closely with Ben. Ben's giving him guidance and assistance. So without further ado, I'm just gonna see if Ben wants to say a few words, and then James can get the presentation started.
Hi, thanks, Fung. This is Ben Vivante, IT Operations Director. It's great to be here tonight. We do a refresh of the town site every 4 years, and we're really looking forward to this one. We've been working on it since September, and James came on board in January, and he's just done an excellent job, and I'll let him take it from here.
Great. So think about 4 years ago, it was a very different time in Brookline, very different time for the world. And as a result of this craziness during the pandemic, it's actually one of the more important redesigns we've done. Let me give you a look at sort of the stats, just to give you an idea of how things have changed. In the 12 months of 2019, right before the pandemic hit, we had 720,000 total times when people opened up the website. They looked at a total of 1.6 million different pages between those. And then just in the past 12 months, you can see how many more people are looking at it. The website opened up more than 884,000 times, total of 1.8 million page views. So you can see that it's getting more important than ever. So what's everyone looking at? Well, online payments, no surprise, a big one. Parking, also huge. Trash and recycling, none of this should surprise you. The assessor's office. So, and these are actually fairly consistent with the numbers we've seen in the past, which gives you an idea of what the priorities are. The other thing that's giving you an idea of the priorities are the people we've talked to. We spoke to the League of Women Voters before we started this process to get an idea what our priorities should be. DICR, some of the DICR subcommittees, of course, the IT Advisory Committee, the Council on Aging. We also sent out a website survey to residents to give us feedback about what we needed to fix on the site, what could be improved. And we sent out messages to all of the regular website contacts that we have, just to tell them, hey, we're happy to do a presentation at any meeting to give everyone a chance to have a voice in this process. And here's what we came up with. Overwhelming message, navigation, probably the biggest issue. You got all sorts of great stuff on the website. I can't find it though. So we're trying to cut down on the number of menus you see on any given page. So, fewer options so you can decide the right one for you, and the number of items in any given menu. You're thinking of those big, government and residents and how do I tabs at the top of the screen. Those are going to be drastically cut down. Focus on the stuff that's really important. Search, also a big thing. We're trying to cut down on the old files that tend to cup up in the search engine and gum up the works. We're changing the way that the search engine operates a bit, and we have a new vendor that's scanning for issues that will confuse places like Google and Bing that search from the outside. We're also getting that same new vendor to scan for issues that make it harder for seniors, people with disabilities, people who are less web savvy to use the site. And when we launch a new site, we're going to have a new button that allows any individual user to click from any page and say, okay, I want to change the font. I want to make things bigger. I want to magnify my screen. Whatever individual issues you have looking at the website, you'll be able to figure out a combination of options that will allow you to use it easier. Obviously, mobile devices, a big thing right now. If you look at the numbers, it used to be about 1/3 of people were using a smartphone or a tablet. Now it's more like half of people who look at our website, about 48% on a smartphone or tablet. So we're updating every page to make sure they play well with a smaller screen size. While we're doing that, we're also taking a look at every page to make sure that they don't have as much outdated information on them, that the links that might be broken are now fixed, that kind of thing. And we're making a general push for usability, trying to make sure that there are graphical buttons in places rather than these walls of text and walls of blue hyperlinks. We find that graphical buttons are much more easy for people to understand and sort of quickly zoom in and get what's going on with the link, where they're going next. So here's your first look at what it's going to look like. And I'm actually going to pull up a mock-up that we've created with the help of our content management system vendor, Civic Plus. To be clear, this is a mock-up. It's like a theatrical set. It's not really the real site. That comes later, but it gives you an idea of what we're doing here. So we mentioned fewer of these big navigation menus at the top. We're going to have 4 instead of 8. We're also going to have about 15 or so items in each one of these, rather than sometimes you can get to 20, 30, 40 or more in some of these menus, trying to cut down the amount of stuff that we have people look at any given time. We've pulled up the graphical buttons that are currently at the bottom of the screen right into the middle. So these are the things that are most commonly used by people. We want to put those options right in front of you at the start. And then the other thing that people kept telling us that they loved about the site, I love the news, I love the calendars, I love knowing what's going on in town. So we've pulled that up on our current site. It's sort of below the fold. You don't see it when you first open the web page and you have to scroll down. Now it's going to be right there, and you can see that the news is on the left, the calendar's on the right. You can see exactly what's going on. Moving downwards, we've got our guides. Now, the idea behind this is twofold. Number one, I've just moved into town. I've just started getting civically engaged. I don't know when I have to shovel my sidewalk. I don't know what I can recycle, that kind of thing. So we're going to have guides for that to help you engage with the town. We're also going to have a new idea we call Website University, which is, I've just started using the website. I don't know how to get a permit for something. I don't know how to find this bit of information. We'll have a series of guides that allow people to do that, and might even cue them in on things that they didn't know were on the website, but now they'll be able to use them. And then finally, on the homepage, common resources. If you hadn't seen what you were looking for before, one last chance to sort of catch you and send you where you're going instead of keeping you on the homepage. And let me, before I stop this mockup, I'm going to give you an idea of what the interior pages will look like. These are things like the department pages, pages for individual programs and opportunities, that kind of thing. Largely, it's going to be the same, but I want to draw your attention to the left side. Again, much smaller menus. Instead of having 20 items over here, we're going to have categories of items that you can expand to, find more specific things. So you just find the category that's interesting to you, and then you expand it to find the individual item. And then this main area of the page is considerably bigger, so you're going to be able to have more stuff on the screen that you start on, rather than having to scroll down and see if it's below the fold. So I think that just about wraps it up for our PowerPoint there. I'm sorry, our mock-up. Let me tell you what's next. And there it is. Great. So what's next? We're going to be setting up a test site so that we can actually put all of our content on the site and see how people play with it, give people a chance to interact with it. We're hoping to launch the real thing in the summer. And then we're also hoping to launch for a small group of departments, specialized pages that'll have their own unique look. And I'd love to hear more from you guys. Please feel free to contact me. I've got my contact, my work phone, my work email right on the bottom there. And we're looking for as many people as possible from all sorts of different places in town to get in touch and tell us more about what we can do to improve this. So thanks so much, folks. Really good to see y'all.
That was excellent. And I can't tell you how great that preview looks. I mean, the website was just a lot of words. It was a lot of text. So this, so much better. Mike Salmon.
Thanks, Heather. I just want to comment on something I would think John Van Skyke would have noticed as well, your comment about below the fold. And of course, it refers to a newspaper.
Yes.
And it's a perfect analogy, absolutely a perfect analogy. And I think you're right. The number of people who actually take the time to scroll down and take a look at something below the fold, as it were, below the bottom of the page that's on screen is, you know, that people always complain it's not there, but it's there if you scroll down a little bit. So you're absolutely right to find the things that people are most interested in, make them prominent, and that's not there right now. So you're definitely headed in the right direction. And I'm looking forward to the test site, which I promise I'll bring out as thoroughly as I possibly can and get back to you.
Looking forward to it.
Miriam.
So first, I think it's great. Well, you know, I think it's great because I've said it before when I saw it before. And I want to say a couple of things. The first, I really want to commend the amount of community engagement. There really has been such a concerted effort to reach out and see what people wanted and then listen to them and give them what they wanted. And when I see the mock-up, that's what I see. I see a website I want to go to and use versus the one now that I basically put in my Google search the most specific terms I can so that I can avoid the homepage. So this is a huge improvement. And the second is because we've talked about this and because you presented to the Commission on Disability, especially, I want people to know, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, but that all the images will have alt text, that screen readers will be able to read this site. This will be an accessible site. And I really think that's something very important that the site currently just doesn't have that high level of accessibility.
Can I respond to that quickly before we move on?
Absolutely, James. Yeah.
Yes, so I touched on this briefly during the presentation. We are currently using a new vendor that automatically scans the site using sort of the gold standard for accessibility to the WCAG standards. That is something, it'll be an ongoing project, but the point being, it finds the times when images don't have alt text, when there's awkwardness with the way that, you know, our links are written so that someone using a screen reader can't see them properly, when there's not enough contrast between different things. It will, point being, that's not going to be an instant thing as the site comes up. It's not a flipping a light switch, but it's a dimmer switch that is getting brighter and brighter as we go on.
Wow, you're very good at the analogies.
I'm what you call a professional communicator. Worked as a journalist for about 8 years.
Excellent. Mike, your hand is up. I'm wondering if that's just a holdover. So I'm going to call on John.
Thanks very much. Thanks, James. Really terrific presentation. And also such a step forward for the website. And kind of, it's getting closer and closer and closer to the website of my dreams, James. You know, I don't have too high a standard, just, you know, it has to be the website of my dreams. I'm going to mention, since you've made so much progress, I want to mention something that I haven't actually mentioned before, which maybe could be, you know, a future area of focus. I think we're moving more and more into the period, the future of all meetings in some way, shape, or form will be recorded. I mean, those that have Zoom, that take place via Zoom, whether it's hybrid or just a Zoom only meeting, anybody can hit record and have a record a tape afterwards of that meeting. And some of the groups that meet regularly are already doing that. There's of course other ways that you can also have a video of your meeting available. I think at some point we need to sort of put together everybody who is currently recording meetings and archiving video, and figure out, maybe you already have done this, figure out what is the archiving policy, because we don't want to blow up the whole storage system. For how long will we archive meetings after they've occurred, and who decides? And then how can we rationalize the access to the videos of meetings in a way that is very orderly and presentable? And just like somebody can go to the calendar for all the meetings of this week, they can go to a single website where they can find all the recent videos of meetings that they may have missed. And it's, by date and by committee and by board that had the meeting. And, each one is linked to the video, and, it's all there, and it's not scattershot, and it's not some boards and committees are keeping videos and others are not. So after you get all the way to the website of my dreams, then you get to the video access links of my dreams. And then, I'll retire and I'll praise you for the rest of my days.
So
I
I'm
get
going
that
to
already?
jump in, because I think how long it has to be retained might be a legal question. I believe 7 years for most public records. We can verify with town council, but Feng, do you want to respond to some of that?
Sure, yeah, so you're absolutely right, Chair Hamilton. So I think the retention schedule is really based upon the kind of information. And also we do need to check with town council to see how long we legally have to maintain those videos. Just so everybody knows, of course, because we have Zoom Gov. So right now all the videos are stored in the cloud in Zoom Gov, our account. So we can certainly explore what other options that we have to store those videos and catalog them. But we first do need to find out legally how long we need to keep them. Yeah, you're absolutely right. Yep.
Excellent. I'm sure Joe Callahan, our town council, can be helpful with that.
Mm-hmm.
Any other questions or just comments? Bernard, so good to see you. What did you think about the website?
Well, I've been away for the last week, and I was on the road when we started, so I'll reserve my judgment until I have information.
Okay, well, be prepared to be pretty impressed.
From what I saw, it is very impressive.
Excellent. So will you all just give us a note when it goes live?
Of course, yeah.
Excellent. Okay.
Yes.
Well,
Forward
thank
it
you all
to-
for your time.
Thanks so much for your time.
Thank you
yeah.
very much
you.
for your hard work and this update.
Have a good one.
So next on our agenda is an interview for the Parks and Recreation Commission. Jason, do you want to pronounce your last name?
Rabat.
Rabat.
Rabat. Excellent. So the way we usually do interviews, we give you about 2 minutes to describe who you are, why you're interested, why we should appoint you, and then I'll open it up to questions from the other select board members.
Yeah, that sounds good.
Great.
All right. So I'm Jason Rabat. I'm currently a 10th grader at Brookline High School and a 3-sport athlete. There are 5 main reasons that I would like to serve on this committee. The first is I understand parks and recreation. I've used these parks my entire life. The 3 sports I play, basketball, soccer, and tennis at Brookline High School, still use these parks to this day. I've participated in town recreation programs like rec soccer and recreation basketball, which later turns into town travel basketball. The second is I recently participated in helping design a park with the Brookline Parklet design team. This was an opportunity provided by the Commission for Students at Brookline High School. The third is I served I still serve as an advisory team leader at Brookline High School. Advisory team leader. I serve for the Graduate Green Program. The Graduate Green Program is a program which works to help educate students on environmental issues and sustainability. We work on this by giving class presentations and leading discussions. The fourth is I currently work part-time for Parks and Recreation as a referee. I referee soccer for both town soccer and recreation soccer. The fifth is I value dog ownership in this town since I myself own a 4-year golden doodle. I understand the mental and physical health, the importance of owning a dog. I walked Coda, my dog, her name's Coda. I walk her all the time in parks. And so I understand the importance of that. Based on reading some recent meeting notes, I believe I can more effectively represent young people in this town since I myself interact with them every day as a student. Thank you for your time.
Thank you very much for that very succinct synopsis. Miriam.
Thank you. So first, Jason, did you go to Heath?
I went to Heath, yes. Okay.
I thought I recognized your mom's Polly, right?
Yep.
Okay. Heath is this very small community.
Very.
So tell me what, just give me a little lens on what are the most pressing issues. I mean, you say you want to bring the lens of the student athlete, which I think is in fact important and missing. But what does that mean? What things are important to you in terms of what you want to see Park and Recs doing that it's not doing currently?
So one of the main reasons I want to serve on this is not that it's not doing anything, that the commission isn't doing things. It's that people my age don't know about them. Most people my age, in talking to them, they have no idea that this even exists. They don't even understand. They don't know about that. And another thing is, due to that, a lot of kids, they don't understand. So for example, for soccer, everyone has to travel to get to practice. It's about 1 mile for JV and about 2 miles to get to Skyline from Brookline High School for varsity. This is not an easy commit. It usually pertains to a lot of carpooling or biking. But kids don't understand, like, oh, why don't we just have a turf field at right outside the high school? Why don't we have fields closer by? So I'd like to help kids understand on why things are set up the way they are in this town. Yeah, that's the main thing.
Great, thank you. I hesitate to bring this up, and I kind of want to couch it in a little bit of a backstory. So there are a couple of warrant articles at this town meeting dealing with the turf issue. It seems to pit a lot of neighbors against neighbors. So this is my subtle way to say, be very careful how you answer this question. But I am going to ask you, have you followed the discussion and do you have an opinion about it?
Yes, I have definitely been following the discussion. And on one hand, I understand the importance of grass fields in Brookline and how important it is for dogs and other activities. I also understand the importance around injury and health. But on the other, so in my opinion, it's something that we need to learn more about and research more to come up with a clear decision. But from the little information that I have, yeah, I understand how turf fields, since I work on turf fields for soccer, I understand that from my little experience that injuries happen way less due to less potholes, more of an even surface. But I'm quite unknowledgeable on that subject since I don't want to give an unwarranted response.
Thank you. Any other questions for this applicant? Well, we don't typically make a decision at the meeting that you interview at, so we will probably make a decision at a later date and we will let you know.
Thank you. Thank you for the time.
Thank you so much for your interest. Okay, so that leaves us with at least 50 minutes to talk about any unfinished business when it comes to the warrant articles. I figured that there might be something having to do with the budget, so we put that as a placeholder, and we may have to revisit some of our positions that we have voted on, because I think we voted on all of these other warrant articles, 22 PFAS, 24 artificial turf, and 25 single-use plastic. Melissa, what's the latest? And then I'll call on you, Mike.
We can get started with, we can skip over 8 because at this point there are no motions in play for the budget article. I know that the moderator had indicated that if the advisory committee or the select board would like to make a motion to put the budget in balance, that she would entertain that. But at this point, nothing's been submitted on Article 8 for the board to consider.
Okay, thank you. I think my preference and the town administrator's preference is for us to take some time, not respond so emotionally in the moment, and come up with a plan for the November town meeting. Okay. So just put a pause. Melissa, I want to hear from Mike. It really looks like he's trying to get my attention.
Oh, no, I'm not going like this.
Okay.
Just raised hand. But I do have in the process of putting together my remarks about Articles 12 and 13 on the Commission on Diversity, Inclusion, and
Community Relations.
Community Relations, actually. We did not vote as a board. We did not vote on the CTOS proposal to send the motions back to DICR. We simply voted no action. And my question is, do we want to, and I can't because I was on the negative side of that, but do the other 3 members of the board want to have a vote on the CTOS motion?
So hold on. Was the CTO and S motion to refer back to CDICR?
Yeah.
I think we discussed this, and other select board members can certainly jump in.
Yep.
I would have been supportive of that if it had referred it to any other body besides CDICR.
Any other body, the Transportation Board?
Sure.
No, I'm teasing. Okay, well, I appreciate that, but the question is, the question I'm asking is whether it's appropriate for us to, because what I'm going to say at this point is, this is what our vote is. We did not vote on that proposal, and I just wonder whether that's okay.
I don't think that's an accurate statement. We did talk about CTO and S's recommendation.
Yeah, okay, so I should say we discussed, but
Yeah.
did not vote on. Yeah, okay.
Any other select board members can weigh in if they feel differently about that. That was how it kind of went down. But I think Miriam wants to say something.
Not on that. I just want to make
Okay.
sure we revisit 22.
Got it. Okay.
That's where I was going next.
Any other discussions before moving on to the ones that are on the agenda? Okay, let's revisit 22.
So for 22, the board's current position was the petitioner motion that was found at the bottom of page 22-4 and runs over. I think at the time it was unclear where the petitioner was in terms of whether or not he was intending on continuing to move this motion. We've since found out that he is actually supportive of the advisory committee motion, which is a referral. And so that can be found, if I can just call up the page in just a minute. If you go to 22-15, you'll see the referral motion. It's also on page 423 if you're looking at the full combined reports. So both the petitioner and the advisory committee are in line with that motion. So the question is if the board wants to reopen and go along with the advisory and petitioner motion.
Miriam.
I just want to be super, super clear since I'm speaking on this one. So this would be, we would refer this warrant article to a moderators committee for further study.
Correct.
Okay. And that is the same, that's the same thing we voted for 25, or we have to revisit 25 too?
we have to revisit 25 because what we filed on Friday was a motion that you and Heather offered, because we were talking about referral, who should we refer to? The board chose to refer that, or that you and Heather filed a motion to refer 25 to ACPH. You know, but obviously, if you're trying to be efficient and just have one committee, I think we would need to make sure that the moderator would accept a change in assignment, given that we filed this on Friday, and I don't know when 25 will be up.
I think they're supposed to be up tonight.
22 is supposed to be up tonight, then 12, 13, then tomorrow is 23, 24, and 25.
Got it. Okay.
But I think you want, I mean, but I think the goal is to have both 22 and 25 go to the same place. Is that my understanding? They both go to the moderators committee? Or am I, because there's just so much.
I
am
know.
misunderstanding?
So hold on. I think it's very important not to conflate the warrant articles, because even I'm having a hard time, keeping these numbers and topics straight. I know Clint Richmond, the petitioner, called me this afternoon and wants to be heard, at least on 25. I am not against revisiting our position on 22, and for efficiency, referring it to a moderators committee. If anyone feels in support of that or not in support of that, let's focus right now on 22. And then once we get through 22, I will ask Devin to promote Clint Richmond, and we can have a discussion about 25 and how to handle that. John?
Thanks. My recollection, and who knows if this is correct, is that one or the other, or maybe even both, 22 and 25, we discussed the merits of referring them to the Advisory Committee on Public Health. And I thought with at least one of them, if not both, we had pretty much come around to the view that in fact they are the most appropriate body to whom to refer this. And I'm not sure why people are suddenly so enamored of moderators committees. We set up one to deal with the, the issue of, whether there can be some sort of equity approach to retail cannabis licenses in Brookline. And I don't see much progress being made by that committee. It increasingly feels to me as though moderators committees, are kind of places to send stuff that you don't expect to see it come back soon. Whereas these are public health issues. And I'd like to sort of make one last pitch towards maybe the Advisory Committee on Public Health being the best place to refer both of these, but I'll bow to Moderators Committee if that seems to be where this is going.
So,
John?
I don't know that we will have an opportunity to amend the motion on 22, considering that it's on the docket for tonight. I don't think that the moderator will entertain a motion that has not been published in the combined report.
So, John, I agree with you, but right now we're faced with, it doesn't seem like we can offer that motion. And the petitioner and the advisory are on the same page.
So be
And
it.
yeah, like let's save our energy for the battles worth fighting.
I hear you.
Miriam?
I just want to say that I agree with that. I mean, I don't understand how we got to a moderators committee instead of the public health committee, but this is what we have. So better that than nothing.
Yeah. Okay, so do I have to offer reconsideration? Okay, so I will offer reconsideration on warrant article 22. Let's dispense with that first. All those in favor? Oh, Bernard, do you want to be heard?
Okay, I'm sorry. Just remind me, what was our original position?
So we were trying to offer a competing motion to refer but we wanted it sent to the Advisory Council on Public Health
That's right.
as opposed to a newly created moderators committee.
Okay.
Was
Can
that
I-
true,
can I just-
Melissa?
No.
Oh, okay.
Originally,
It's
the
not just
board.
me.
That was 25.
It is confusing. There's three very similar articles with very similar topics. For 22, what the board voted was favorable action on the amended petitioner motion before the petitioner decided to go with the referral motion. So
Okay.
now this is the board looking to get in line with both the advisory committee and the petitioner on the referral motion.
Okay, thank you, Melissa. Yeah, these are all kind of bouncing around my head is the same thing. So that's your answer, Bernard.
Thank you. I'm glad I
Okay.
asked.
Yes, I'm glad you asked too.
It's
So
aye.
okay. John,
Oh, no.
this
Sorry.
is just to reconsider.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, that's, yes, to reconsider. Yeah.
Okay, Miriam,
Aye.
Mike.
Aye.
And the chair votes aye. Now I will offer a motion to come in line with the advisory committee's motion to refer to a moderators committee. All those in favor, Bernard,
Aye.
John,
Aye.
Miriam,
Aye.
Mike,
Aye.
and the chair votes aye. Okay, so now we're going to move on to warrant article 25, no, 24, right? Or maybe we should go to 25 first. Any ideas? I did say that we would hear from Clint.
We've been talking about 25 for a little bit, so it probably
Yeah,
does make
okay,
sense to stay with
let's
that.
stay on 25. So Devin, if you can promote Clint. I told him that I would agree to let him speak, and then we can talk about whether or not we need to reconsider our position.
Good evening, Clint Richmond, Town Meeting Member, Precinct 6. Thank you, Madam Chair, for allowing me to speak. And I want to thank also the Advisory Committee and the Select Board for all the work that they put in on both of 22 and 25. And in particular, the Select Board had voted to support both 22 and 25 as originally written, but based on feedback we received, we are happy. And I should mention, I'm not the only petitioner. There's 3 petitioners on each, but they are not town meeting members, and are fine with a moderators committee, and you'll hear me speak about it shortly at town meeting. But with regard to 25, which I think everyone has agreed to date has been a simpler warrant article to understand. It has to do with certain single-use plastics products, which is both a solid waste advisory committee as well as an advisory committee on public health issue. It's certainly intersectional. And maybe with 22, it's more the other way around. It's more of a health issue than a solid waste issue. But again, both of them, I think, have important input, and even ZAB could have input. So that's why I think that the moderators committee is a reasonable compromise for 22. But for 25, I still feel like well, I guess I only first heard of this referral on 25 as I think was mentioned on Friday. So I had not been in communication with anybody that this was coming. So I would appreciate an explanation, unless again, somebody got 25 and 22 mixed up, because there has been continual confusion both on the agendas of the select board and so forth. So it's been a little complicated to follow. But the advisory committee voted unanimously to support warrant article 25 as is, or as reduced, actually, again, based on their feedback and the Department of Public Health. So, and the Advisory Council on Public Health is, also has some concerns. So, and then the Select Board voted unanimously on 25 the night it was heard, which was back in April, I think, when the chair was absent on personal business. So that was your final vote, and then I don't know, this other referral motion has appeared, but I'm not ready to accept that one and would strongly, urge you to keep your original motion, which is in line with the advisory committee. And that, the petitioners and stakeholders are willing to work with public health to make sure that this is workable. There's, modification possibilities baked into the warrant article, and, hearings and so forth. So and we can modify it, but we think it's important, again, based upon I think a fairly large amount of feedback you've received as a board, to take action on single-use plastics. So to get something on the books, and if it needs further tweaking in the future, we're happy to do that. If it needs additional staff in the future, we're happy to do that and advocate for that. So I guess that's
So
it.
let's pause there. Thank you, Clint. I might cold call on Miriam, because my recollection of the last time we took this up, we dove into the language of the warrant article, and we were worried that it was either too specific or not specific enough. That's where my memory starts to get a little fuzzy.
Yeah.
Miriam, do you want to try to shade in?
Yeah, we actually read the ACPH, what they wrote, and they wanted referral. They voted no action. And so I think we were discussing actually no action. And then I brought up referring to them, right? Because this is the body that's going to have to oversee enforcement. And since they're also going to be doing the same work for 22, one way or the other, the idea was that they umbrella 22 and 25, because there are some similar issues that need to be addressed in terms of personnel, enforcement, what stays on the list, what goes, and why. And these are really public health issues. So it seemed like the appropriate place. And this speaks to John's point, which is, I think both of these are appropriately placed within ACPH ACPH personally. So I feel like as it is written, and I think this was when I read the comments from ACPH, they also felt to me like, as it was written, it's not ready for prime time. So it's not that I don't support it, I just don't think it's ready for prime time. And if the Commission on Public Health doesn't think it's ready for prime time, then that's who I'm gonna take my guidance from for this particular issue.
So before I call on Bernard, Melissa, can you just remind me if the moderator agreed to our motion to refer?
So I published it because I didn't hear back from the moderator. So it's part of what is under consideration for town meeting, because it's published in the combined report.
And I'm remembering correctly, right, Melissa, that ACPH.
Yes, so basically ACPH's report recommended no action on the article, but you did mention they're not, this isn't going away. We're dealing with 22 and 25. Doesn't it make sense to just have it all go together? Yeah, so that's what we discussed last week. Okay,
Bernard.
Yeah, I guess I just have a couple comments based on some recent experience. It's not just enforcement, but also a body like the ACPH that will actually look at it. I mean, theoretically hold hearings, but I don't think they hold hearings, but do the research as experts and come to a conclusion. And the personal experience I had is I was visiting my sister, who was very close to my brother, who died a year ago. And she was telling me that the thing that really got her through a period of grief was those little beads that she used to make artwork. And it was sort of for her a mental health issue. And I don't think that that's a reason not to ban those little beads. But it sort of illustrates the fact that, residents come forward, with banning this, banning that, and banning the other thing. And we don't really have a process whereby a decision can be made on these bans that is based on, hearings, research, examination by the people who really know, not just people who have opinions, but people who really know all the consequences. Not just, that they're gonna, get in the sand and things like that, but, what are the consequences broader, including on human beings and mental health issues? which, like I said, I don't think that's a reason, or my experience is a reason to, decide one way or another on those little beads, but it just illustrates that, there's more to it than just, let's ban things that are bad.
So,
I agree with referring it to the council.
okay, so that's, I think, two members of the select board that still want us to stay at our current position. Anyone else feel
Heather,
differently?
So we didn't have the board vote on the referral motion because we wanted to run it by the moderator first. So the board actually does need to take a position on the motion.
Okay. Any select board members want to weigh in before we decide what motion to move?
Mhm.
It would be helpful for me to know which motion to move if I
I
knew
like,
where
I like
select board
referral.
members are.
I like referral to ACPH.
Yeah, me too.
So, Clint, it's better than no action.
Oh, we can do no action. Just teasing.
I'm sorry, Clint. Okay, so I will move the referral to the Advisory Council on Public Health. All those in favor, Bernard,
Aye.
John,
Aye.
Miriam,
Aye.
Mike,
Aye.
and the chair votes aye. See you at town meeting.
Thank you very much.
Okay, so the last warrant article on our agenda this evening is Article 24.
So Article 24 is back in front of you because the advisory committee has an additional motion to consider. I think there was some concern that if 23 failed and 24 was still in play, whether or not the subject matter of 24 could get referred to a committee. So there is a new motion, Article 24 Supplement 4, page 461, where you can see if the motion to refer fails, the advisory committee has moved, it's page 461 in the combined reports. I can call it up if that's easier as well.
Yeah, why don't you do that? Maybe you need to talk slower or in less syllable words.
Doesn't bode well for town meeting. So this is the amended motion that the advisory committee voted last week, which essentially refers the subject matter of 24 to an athletic field surface task force appointed by the select board with membership and tasks as described in warrant article 23 at the 2022 annual town meeting, provided, however, that the maintenance or replacement of synthetic artificial turf that has been installed prior to such town meeting, including but not limited to the artificial turf fields at Skyline Park and its sole recreation is permitted. And then if that motion to refer fails, there's an alternate motion that they voted on. That's the Hatchett and Khan motion, which essentially amends is scheduled for installation is added there prior to the adoption of the bylaw or any combination thereof, and specifically including the Driscoll School Field, which has completed the design review and budget process.
Okay. I think I have a question, but do any other select board members, I guess my first question is, remind me if the moratorium warrant article is 23? And
23 is the committee, and then the 24 is the bylaw change, which essentially would be banning the artificial turf.
Okay, thank you. Any comments by select board members? You'll have to use your hand raise feature since we're in presentation mode. John.
Simply to remind everyone that I'm going to speak in favor of this article. I was in the minority position on the prior
Yeah,
vote.
the board's current position is no action, with John voting against.
Okay. Thank you, John. And you'll be sure to say that you're speaking for yourself.
Yes, absolutely.
Miriam?
So to be clear, if we reconsider this, right now we have a no action vote. So what I'm confused at is if, how do we vote? I don't know what, I don't know what to do. Like, I want these amendments, but I still want no action. I'd rather see this whole thing not pass, right? So I need some advice on what it is I want to do if what I want is no action on all of 24. But if 24 does pass, I want it to say these things, right?
Yeah.
You mean if 23 passes? Or these are amendments for 24? I'm
These
sorry.
are amendments for 24.
Okay.
Right.
So let's hear from Mike Salmon. I have some thoughts on what you just brought up, Miriam.
So I think, I mean, ordinarily I would say from a sort of procedural perspective, the best thing to do would be to vote on the amendments, offer the amendments with a positive report, and then offer no action on the unamended version. The difficulty is I think that's confusing to town meeting members on the one hand. On the other hand, that's what's going to happen anyway, because the advisory committee is going to do that. At least that's my understanding of what's going to happen. So I think we should follow suit. We should parallel what they're doing.
I'm really torn, quite frankly. I mean, this stuff is getting so confusing that even we are having a hard time keeping it straight. So I'm worried that we need to be extra clear and simple with what we want town meeting to do. So I think it actually works against us to support a motion where the underlying language we just don't want passed. So I've said that. I see Clint Richmond raise his hand. I think he is a petitioner on one of the two warrant articles. Clint, you got 2 minutes.
Thank you again, Madam Chair. It looks to me like the advisory committee didn't take a position on the main motion if the amendment passes. And I seem to recall from the discussion we had about 24 that at least one member of the board said that if this included Driscoll, if it excluded, that allowed Driscoll to proceed, that they would vote in favor of the main motion. So I think that needs to be a split motion if you do that. But either way, I think that's separate than what the advisory committee has in terms of following the trail of competing amendments. I would add tomorrow, but Climate Action and also endorsed warrant Article 24. You'll be hearing more from them. But I will also reveal that if the Driscoll amendment passes, that allows Driscoll to proceed, I will be voting yes on warrant Article 24 as amended. So it's not strictly about Driscoll. There's other provisions in the warrant article that are important. So while personally I'm not going to vote in favor of that amendment to include Driscoll, but if it passes, I will vote yes on the main motion. If we get to that, of course, the referral motion may win anyway, so we don't know. But anyway, I just wanted to say that there's some subtleties here that some people are most concerned about Driscoll.
And I'm one of them.
Separate from warrant Article 24 overall.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you, Clint. Bernard?
Okay, again, confusion. The amendments from the advisory committee, it doesn't just include Driscoll, it includes Skyline, which is really a critical piece of this, as well as Sewell. So, I mean, it's not just Driscoll that we're talking about, right?
It depends on, the motion. Melissa, walk us through how many motions, what they are, which ones are probably going to be taken up first, and whether or not we can take positions on each individual motion. And then I guess the main
So
motion.
I think that the order that the moderator will likely take this in is that the referral motion usually is taken first. So the referral motion is to refer the subject matter of 24 to an athletic field surface task force. It's a select board committee, and it also is looking at basically the provided that the maintenance or replacement of turf that has been installed prior to the adoption of town meeting, including but not limited to Skyline and Sewell, is permitted. So it's basically saying refer this to a committee, and anything that's in this current stage of planning is not kind of part of the ban. And Clint, if you want to correct me if I'm explaining this wrong, please feel free to chime in. If the motion to refer fails, then the next step would be to take the amended Hatchett-Kahn motion. And it's not clear to me whether or not Janice and Casey are on board with this. I assume that they are. I believe they were both at the advisory committee meeting while this was being amended. And so the Hatchett and Kahn motion effectively would exclude Driscoll from the artificial turf ban. And I believe that the original ban also excluded Skyline and Sewell Rec because they were existing artificial turf. And I think there might be some dates that affect those in the future. Clint, if you want to clarify that, that would be helpful. If the Hatchett, if the advisory committee amendment of the Hatchett-Kahn motion does not pass, then we go to Clint's motion, which is the petitioner motion, and that would be the main motion at that point. If the referral failed, if the amended bylaw fails, then it would be the petitioner motion.
Okay, thank you, Clint. Miriam.
I'm just gonna, so the way I understand it is the first thing we vote on is the referral to a committee. This is if 23 doesn't pass.
I believe that even if 23 passes, the advisory committee still wants to refer 24 to the same committee.
The first thing we vote on is referral to committee. If that passes, we're done. If it doesn't pass, we vote on excluding Driscoll. If that passes, we still vote on the main motion with the amendment.
Correct. Yep.
Got it. Thank you.
Okay.
We need a flow chart. Where's Marissa?
I know. I was
Actually,
just thinking that same thing.
If you just look at the flow chart that Marissa Vogt put together for Article 12 and change the names and the amendment, that's the flow chart.
Okay. So how about this? How about we take a position on the two motions that are likely to be taken up? And then we take a position on the main motion if it is not amended at all.
Okay.
Okay. So the first one to be taken up is the motion to refer to the same, I guess, task force that warrant Article 23 would create.
If 23 passes.
Passes.
But if this would refer to a committee regardless of the outcome of 23.
Okay, so this would, okay, so motion to refer to a committee that will be created to look at this issue. All those in favor of supporting that motion on this warrant article, say aye. Bernard.
Aye.
John.
No.
Mike. I'm sorry, Miriam.
Hmm. Can Mike go first? I'm still debating.
I think he just did. He said aye.
I'm in favor.
I'm gonna go aye.
Okay, and I'll be an aye. Then we'll take a position on, let's say that doesn't pass and there's another motion to carve out Driscoll.
So it's the amended Hatchet Con motion as amended by the advisory committee.
Okay, so whether we're in favor of that amendment.
Okay, so that amendment doesn't create a referral. It simply carves out Driscoll. Okay.
Correct.
Bernard, did you have a question?
No, that was my question.
Okay. So let's say that first motion doesn't pass, and then this is the second thing to be taken up. How do we feel? I will move, I guess, favorable action on the Hatchet Con amendment. All those in favor? Bernard,
No.
John,
No.
Miriam,
Yes.
Mike,
No.
and the chair votes yes. Okay, the main motion, let's say that both these amendments fail. Main motion, any questions about what that would be?
No, but we've already voted on the main motion, which is
Oh, so
Yeah.
do I have to open reconsideration? I guess
no.
we
So your
we don't
current
really,
motion was no action. So
Okay.
you were taking a position on the amendments before actually reopening your vote.
Yeah. Okay, so I don't think we need to reconsider. Are there any select board members that feel differently? Miriam?
Can you just, someone advise me, how am I supposed to, because I'm speaking on this warrant
Yeah.
article, on the behalf of the select board, what do I say? I mean,
So,
I have my comments, but how do I report our vote?
yeah, I can talk with you offline, but
Right.
what I will say, just in more words offline, is you just talk about the discussion that we had. So, the pros and cons, there are all these amendments. This is what the board thinks, and we're not in unison.
Mhm.
So you'll hear from a member who has signed up to speak in opposition. This is a complicated issue. The board at this time feels it needs more time to study it. Please support one of the two amendments. And if neither amendment passes, please vote no action on the main motion.
There's not support one of the two amendments, support the first amendment, but not the second. That failed.
Oh, yes, we were in the minority, so.
Right.
Bernard?
Okay. I tend to be confused. I think I have the answer, but if the First Amendment passes, it becomes the main motion.
Mhm.
And we don't vote on the second one. We just vote on the main motion, up or down. Okay, got it.
So Miriam, if you have any other, questions, or you just want to talk through once you've kind of written up your remarks, feel free to give me a call. Mike?
Can I just offer a comment as to why I voted no on the second one?
Sure.
It's because I think that that it's a mistake to accept the article as it's submitted, even if it carves out Driscoll, if it's sort of the wrong article. And so, whereas submitting it to a committee postpones action and gives the committee a chance to take a sensible look at it, then this doesn't do that, which is, to me, a mistake. It's giving half a loaf to the wrong diner.
Feel free to sign up to speak.
No, I don't want to complicate life. That's too much. Yeah, I just wanted to explain to to Miriam in case she wants to merge that into what she says.
I already
change your
wrote what I
vote.
was gonna say. I've already written, now I'm gonna have to go edit it.
Yeah, I know. It's one of those things where I've learned to write half of my remarks, but save that like last portion for like the night before. Any other comments? Mel?
I was just going to remind the board that we did schedule a select board meeting tomorrow evening in the event we needed it. I don't think we're at that point, so we can cancel that meeting if that's okay with everybody.
Yes, for me. Anyone else?
Yes, and yes.
Okay. I'm just really hoping we don't regret it.
But right now, there's no motions that we can act, right? Are we caught up, Melissa?
Yep, we're good.
For now.
Awesome. So I think that's our meeting. We have to let Big go for town meeting. John, did you want to say something before we
Mhm. Yes.
adjourn?
I just wanted to say that while we have been conducting this meeting, our town council has been conducting a seminar on the subject matter of the records laws and retention of records and how that might impact videos and so on in the chat of this meeting. It's real, very, very thorough and very illuminating. And that's going to be an interesting topic to deal with.
So people should cut and paste it into a new document, because once the Zoom is turned off, we lose it.
That's an interesting reflection on the complexity of access to records itself, Bernard.
Yeah,
Just-
the chair can, the host can save chat. I think everybody can save chat, but I know the host can save chat.
Okay,
Yes.
that,
This is a discussion for another time.
Sure.
Okay. Thank you.